I hope that was live. I hope that was on there live.
It wasn't. We
We would have to archive it if it was. Oh no. There's so much behind the scenes that happen, everybody, before we get on here. And then also after the fact, but
it's a legit Hot Mess Express.
Great. It's good. We're live on IG.
Live on IG. I'm on the Gram Fam. Good morning, everybody. It is Social Surge with Fly and Mo, and we are back, baby, after being gone on Tuesday because I was at Globe Street's Women of Influence conference in Denver, Colorado.
So good.
Very good. Really, really good to show up there. 300 women, all involved in commercial real estate, whether they're in marketing or whether they're a part of development teams, just doing the work. And so it was pretty awesome to be there. I actually flew in. I flew in Tuesday morning.
Amazing.
I flew out Tuesday night. So I was actually up at 2:30, which is just about an hour before I normally get up to fly out because my plane took off at 5. Good morning, Regalata Real Estate. Thanks for joining us on the Gram Fam. And it's just a long day. So you get in at 8 something, hop in a taxi, go to the conference convention center, and get there right before breakfast ends with enough time to be able to give hugs. I saw Miss Beth Azor for like a millisecond.
Right.
She was a
conference powerhouse. Like when you see her, I just caught glimpses of her at ICSC because I was like, she's working. I'm not getting in there.
Yeah. She was actually on a call. So I literally got to do a pinky hug with her. And then I don't think I saw her like the rest of the time. But then I found out later because my flight got delayed. I guess she left to go. She was supposed to leave at 3:30. And her flight also got delayed like 3 times. And my flight was only delayed like 30 minutes. So that wasn't that bad. But she said that her gate and her flight changed 3 times. And then they had to deboard once. And I was just like, there's
a lot going on.
Yeah.
With the airlines. When we were like, I'm going to go in and out in one day, I was like, I believe in you. I believe in fate. Like, you will be delivered there and back in a timely and safe manner. I was like thinking about you all day yesterday.
It wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? Like I only had the one bag with me and I flew Southwest in. And if you've never flown Southwest, I always laugh. There was a comic years ago that used to talk about Southwest, like being kind of the low cost leader. And that was kind of their thing. About having to fight for seats. And it's so funny when you know that somebody has not flown Southwest yet, because they're like, where do we go? What do we do? And I'm like, you wait, and it's free seat. It's a free for all for seating. So if you want to get a good seat, you just got to plan for it. And there was a lady sitting in, so this is like not about the actual event, but there was a lady sitting in front of me. And she literally sat in the middle. And I was like, wow, that's a power move, dude. Because she had her laptop out and everything. And we were boarding the plane. So I was just like, wow, that must be the power move there. And nobody would sit next to her because she had a seat on each side, right? And because it's not assigned seating, it's not, people are just walking past her. And so finally some guy was like, hey, can I, do you mind if I sit here? The aisle seat. And she's like, oh, sure. Yeah, not a problem. So she scoots over right to the window seat, but power move still using her laptop in the middle. I just was like, damn, I don't have the cojones for that. I'd be like, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I'm always impressed. I mean, and I do I think that there are so many different conferences and I want to dig into the meat of the conference. But we're dropping into, I can't figure out who my mystery LinkedIn user is. And I think it might be just a StreamYard thing or something, but it's who knows? We'll look into it later. But, we're coming up again soon and not too long that it'll be a really heavy conference season again. And so I'm always very impressed with the, endurance and adaptability of people in this industry because time waits for no one. and like you got to be there, but you also really got to work. So,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
But if you do not follow Mo on X, and I recommend this for X as an app in general, Mo, I actually want to bring it up. Let me see. I'm going to do something crazy I've never done before.
Are we trying to share?
Yeah. Yep. Share my screen over here. Look at Mo's amazing live coverage of all of the incredible, great sessions that happened while at Globe Street. Right? Fam, look at the fam. Look at the fam.
Yes. There's Miss Allison Weiss, and right above there is Miss Haley Keene from TREP. Haley is absolutely amazing. Get on their podcast if you can. Just fabulous. Haley's one of my favorites. We have a mutual love of Taco Bell and Taco Bell hot sauce.
Love it. Right. And of course, one of the amazing benefits of, going to these events, attending these events and being present with your people is that it's a very concentrated moment to maintain and nurture a relationship that you've built online, right? Because and it's a really tight community. So we had amazing coverage from you, and I'm always, I love to see people posting about things while they're happening, and X is great for that specifically. But so tell me about the actual sessions and what your experience was like in there.
Yeah, so our keynote was Molly Bloom, and if you don't know who Molly Bloom is, there was an entire movie made about her called Molly's Game, I believe, and I should probably fact check myself on that because I'm feeling a little like maybe that's not the name of the movie. Anyway, so Molly Bloom was like an Olympic hopeful skiing. And she ended up hurting herself, so she couldn't do that anymore. So she ends up going and she moves to LA and starts working for a real estate company. And the guy, the owner of the real estate company, I'm probably butchering this story, but anyway, long story short, she gets into poker, right? And if you watch the movie, the movie is exactly what happened to her. Like you would think that's like, wow, they must have like, kind of
exaggerated
exaggerated it. And she was like, no, like this actually happened. So, super, super wild, her story. What I loved about what she talked about is that she owns her mistakes, and she absolutely says, like, at the core of it, the reason why it all fell apart is because she forgot what her moral compass was, and she forgot.
That's big.
Yeah, no, super. I mean, and she's like, there I am, I'm trying to leave New York and trying to get to my parents because I need to get back to Colorado. Like shit just fell apart, and I go and I'm trying to use a credit card and I can't. It's canceled. I go and I try to use my debit card, and I go into my account, and literally from having, tens of millions of dollars, she's got nothing, right?
Wow.
So taking that story then and going to LA and shopping it around, and she meets with Aaron Sorkin, and they end up doing this video or this movie, just super incredible. But one of the things that she talked about was there's a book called Affective Presence. And in fact, I texted you the book as talking about it. Never heard of it before, but it's something that I do want to read. And it's the science of how people feel when they're around you. And trust is the number one way in how we influence others. So one of the things that she did to get people to trust her is she paid attention to their likes. Like when she was doing these games, right? Mm-hmm. She paid attention. And I think just full stop right there. Pay attention. If you have clients and customers who are into certain things, bringing that up, and not in a manipulative way, right? Like actually showing interest. And I think we see that with, we've seen that with Bob Knakal And the story that's coming to mind with that is when he was going to pitch a deal, and the guy was a big fan of Catcher in the Rye, right? And so they use that as part of the pitch, because he noted, like, how many people are going to go into somebody's office and catch that one thing that like is important to them, and then be able to share it, right? Like, it's so crazy to me. But again, paying attention, full stop, right? Like, pay attention to the other person. Maybe that's just putting your phone down. I know that's really hard for me because I'm constantly like answering people and responding and stuff like that. But that was kind of one of the core concepts. And then the other thing that she said that really stuck with me is, you are not your mind. You are the one that hears it. And I was like, damn, that is so good, because how many times do we have those self-limiting thoughts and beliefs in our minds, right? But it's because we're the only one that it's only us that can hear it, right? That's not what other people are saying. It's not what the industry is showing us. And so you are not your mind. And I was just like, wow, that's really good.
I think it's really, I mean, it's something thoughtful about that after you sent that to me. But one of the things that makes me think about in terms of showing up and being more present in this space as well is, so one of the main objections that I hear, or not objections, but just like the things that people have to get over about coming to be present in this space is like, they don't like how they look. They don't like how I sound. Oh, I would love to be on a podcast, except I think my voice sounds dumb. How do I say this in a not snarky way? Like, everybody already knows what you look and sound like. And so, but it's like a disconnect between the perception that we have of ourselves and the perception that other people have of us.
Yes.
And a large part of that becomes, for me, about accepting and receiving and paying attention to more than just like what you reported from the conference of just like, you need to get out of your own head.
Right. I mean, we talk about this all the time, and that's actually, so kind of skipping over Molly's thing real quick. Or I guess, hold on, let me back up. So the really the key takeaway from Molly Bloom is, like, you're going to get knocked down, but it's up to you to pick yourself up. Get knocked down. No, that's
you know exactly what happened. How could I not? Come
on. The big thing is, you're going to get knocked down. You have to pick yourself back up, and it's only you that's going to do that. Yes, you can have a community that's going to help you, but ultimately it's up to you whether or not you get back up and fight. And your energy is just as powerful as your expertise, and influence really starts when you start showing up emotionally for people, right? So there's that. Now, talking about showing up on camera, I went to Miss Allison Weiss's her session, which it was about public speaking. And while it doesn't seem like I would have a problem public speaking, I don't, sort of. When I get up on stage and I have a mic in my hand, like, my hand starts shaking like this. Like, I get really, really nervous. You put a lapel mic on me, I'm fine. But if it's in my hand, like, I'm like literally trying to hold it. Like, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know why I have such a problem with it. I obviously have no problem showing up on camera in all of the iterations that you see. Sure. And I actually did mention that. I said, I don't have a problem being in front of a camera. I've also trained myself to be in front of a camera and to not really look at myself when I'm doing post-production work. Because if I start looking at myself during the post-production work, I start nitpicking, like, oh, you don't look good in this light, or you could have turned your head this way, or something. Which is why I make it a practice, which I haven't done in actually quite a while, since we've been doing these lives, since doing the lives with Corey. Usually I'd go live and not go live, but I would record myself in the morning on Instagram. Something like I'm working and something hits my brain and this is what I want to talk about. Or I'd be scrolling through Instagram and I see something and I'm like, wow, this is really bad. This person shouldn't have, like, not that the person shouldn't have posted it, but like either the composition is bad or there's just, they're giving out wrong information. It's like, wait a minute, this is not how we're actually doing things this way. And so I will show up at 4 o'clock in the morning with sleep still in my eyes and dark circles and my hair all up in a mess, right? But I don't have a problem doing that. There's a lot of people that have challenges and issues showing up in front of a camera. So the takeaway for me from that whole session was that I need to get out on stage more so I can get over being scared of being there. And I think also, hold on real quick, the other thing for me too is the fact that being here, it's just me. It's like being in the studio in the radio station, right? It's just me and a microphone. Being on stage is me and a shit ton more of other people staring back at me. And that's daunting to me.
I think one thing that you highlighted, the difference between holding the microphone and having a lapel mic, you should 100% do whatever it takes to reduce the friction for yourself when you're gonna speak, make content, go to a meeting, whatever. Like I had a big proposal recently, and I was getting ready in the morning, and I was trying to decide how, I was trying to arrive in the moment in the way that I wanted to, and stressing out about it. And stressing out about it was such a waste of time. Being anxious about it was such a waste of time. Just be comfortable and do whatever you need to do to show up as your best present self in that moment. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that go into this whole, the whole navigation of stage fright or just, all of that, right? But I think that, one thing that we always encourage people to do is like show up like yourself. And, I think that I am realizing there is a lot more potentially sort of like mindset work that goes into being even able to show up to begin with, that have nothing to do with the person's capability to deliver. So right. It's interesting, but yeah, I think that hearing about that session was, also hit for me. And of course I'm just like, I'm having FOMO.
Well, Allison she's so funny. She's fabulous. She did mention Social Surge a couple times, and I got like bright red because to me, having that, like, again, like I said, like doing this is fine, but being in a room with people and somebody calling you out, and not in a bad way at all, but just having that happen, and I'm like, my whole freaking face just flushes, right? But it was awesome that she mentioned about us doing Social Surge. And so just huge thank you to Allison for doing that. And the other thing that I took away from that session is that because it was a great question came up about, how do you stay on track? And I have this issue with podcasts as well, like super ADHD. So then, of course, I'm trying to make my point, but then I go off and I veer around this way, and then I come back and I'm like, oh yeah, hey, wait a minute.
We're a lot better than we used to be. Yes. Because of practice and iteration. I watch the replays. I'm like, yes. But go on.
Yes. So it was just, if you have those challenges, and actually this was also a really good point, because it had to do with also going into pitch. Like if you're going into pitch, and the question was, you're going in to do a pitch, the main person that you are going to pitch is 8 minutes late. And instead of having half an hour, now you only have 20 minutes. What do? And if you knew that you had 10 talking points going in, right? Just bullet points already in your mind, knowing what the 3 main points are, and not speak, because the normal reaction is to speed through it. Like you're trying to get everything in, and now you have less time. No, what you're going to do is you're going to present, but give the main points instead of trying to give the whole thing, which I thought was fabulous. That's a great example of what you should do. And it's something that I recommend people do when you're writing social media posts, right? Right. Well, I mean, I've talked about this before, and it's something that I learned in radio, which is, we're talking about, that it's basically a paragraph. Think about how you used to write a paragraph. You have your main sentence, right? Your main thesis, your 3 points that support it. And then the last part is your conclusion, but it's not your conclusion. It's how the hell are you going to get out of whatever it is that you're saying, right? Like commit to the bit. You have to continue to follow through with that. It's not leaving the audience hanging. You never want to leave them hanging unless it's a teaser for the next segment. But for the most part, it's not. So how are you going to get out of that? It's the same with social media posts. It would be the same if you're going and giving a pitch and now you have less time. You know, how do you do those things? So I really love that advice because it was like, for me, it was just kind of like, well, duh. Like if I'm on a podcast, I should already know what I'm talking about. I should already have my points, just my little bullet points. And I wish you could have seen like when I would be in the studio and I'd literally have like a piece of paper about this big and I'd have all of my spot blocks like marked off. And I would have, and it wouldn't even be a full sentence. It would just be like, we're talking about this. These are the points you're making. This is how you're going to get out of it. And so it was just a good reminder that that can happen at any time. And I should always be using that. The other thing that I absolutely just freaking loved, which is super funny, it was actually about, there was a great panel about the CRE industry trends. And I think she said, one of the panelists said 160 billion. I could be wrong. I might not have heard this because I wrote down 2 numbers. In CRE debt is coming due in 2025. And a lot of it is, I think she said 40% is rollover from 2024, which was just like, wow, that's freaking huge. And then talking about Gen Z and Gen Z in the workplace and how they prefer like neuro-inclusive, no shame communication. Gen Z will not be yelled at. It's Dr. Fromage.
Oh, what's up?
Thanks for joining us on the Gram Fam. And also James Milner's also joining us on the Gram Fam. So thanks for being there.
I have not as much action on my feed, but we're just everywhere, right?
But Gen Z does not want to be yelled at. So for all of you who are working with Gen Zers, just know that they're not going to take being yelled at. And they're not bought in, right? Like you had so many people that would stay with a company for 30 years and they were bought into that company. This is a different generation. They're not bought in. They're just like, if you don't treat me right, if you don't provide kind of that atmosphere that I'm wanting, I'm out. I'm going to go find someplace somewhere else, or I'll go make my own place, right? I'll make my own space.
I do see, I want to pick up on that last point because I have been seeing a lot of activity, engagement, and new content coming from a generation of brokers that are just beginning their careers. Bo Barron, what is up? Sorry, I got really excited.
Bo.
I'm not the person who's usually running the comments also, so we're learning, but I'm seeing a wealth of content, especially coming in on LinkedIn, and also, and in somewhat in following, you know, a lot of the folks that are involved in Bethany Babcock's CRE launch program. There is a lot of engagement in the community, and I am seeing pockets of, you know, new gen brokers really starting to rally, and they're very excited about what they are doing, with the caveat of I'm seeing that happen in places where culture is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
The brokerages, the businesses, the groups that this generation is all coming into, is that the more experienced brokers, the more senior brokers are inviting them in, mentoring them, really bringing them in, as interns, as apprentices, as junior agents, whatever. Like I see much more success happening in the intergenerational relationships in places where culture and mentorship are strong.
Right. I guess that's actually, it's a great point that you picked up, because that was one of the things that is talked about, is the fact that mentorship, there's a difference between sponsoring and mentoring, right? and making sure that, oh, Kristen Ginty's joining us over on the Gram Fam. She's one of my besties. Love her. We never get to spend enough time together. So thanks for joining Social Surge. But one of the things he talked about is about sponsorship and mentorship being two different things. And it's all about intentionality. And, you know, making sure that when you are mentoring someone, that you are building them up. And Marcy Moneypenny's coming in. Good morning. And making sure that you are actually doing what you say you're going to do, right? And knowing what the intention is when you are mentoring someone. And last but not least, the one thing I did want to, there's actually a couple things. One of the notes that I made is I learned a new acronym called VUCA, and it's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which is allegedly going to define the next 12 months because there's so much. And this was in regard to like the political and economical like complexity of what's happening right now. And part of that conversation was talking about tariffs. And one of the women on the panel went to the Home Builders of America conference or something like that. And the builders there were less concerned about tariffs. They were watching interest rates. So that to me was interesting because we don't really like. Kristen said I was on X and couldn't get the 160 billion note right either, even though she said it twice. I know she said it twice, and I wrote down two different numbers, and I was like, I'm just going to go with the lower number. It's probably higher. But back to the Home Builders of America, I found it interesting that they're not concerned about so much the tariffs. They're concerned about the interest rates and the labor market. So again, just things that we're not thinking about that. Let me rephrase this. The news, when you watch the news or when you hear from the news talks about certain things, and that's not what is the big concern about what the builders are looking at. And this was with regard to like affordable housing and construction and all that stuff. And okay, now to my last point. If you have not heard Katie Kim, I talked about this last night on X. I was in the one of the X spaces with Jonathan Papika and Ken Ashley was on there. Brandon Abedikian was able to join in, which was
nice.
Lovely. Yes. Coy Davidson was on there. Brian Perry was there. So we were talking, and Katie Kim, she was one of the speakers that was talking about, what was the name of oh my gosh. God bless it. I can't think of the name of the panel. Anyway, it was the last panel of the day. It was about structuring, series structuring. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong. Anyway.
Let me look it up. You talk.
You're going to look it up. But Katie Kim, if you are not like the most impactful probably for me besides Molly Bloom was Katie Kim talking about how she structures deals. And if you've never listened to her, freaking go follow her.
Anatomy of a Deal, deconstructing CRE transactions.
Yes. So one of the stories, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but it was just unreal to me. They went into a community. So she does, one of the things she said, which was super funny, is women develop differently, which you can take that in any way that you want. But she was talking about how women developers go into communities and they look at the development differently than a man would. And so it was just kind of a funny statement, but she was talking about how they went into a community, they did a development, or they bought a piece of land, or they didn't even buy it. Like the community paid her to do the development. And it's just because of all this stuff that she knows about how to structure deals and debt. And it was just fabulous. And then she ended up getting like a 356% return after 4 years for her and her investors. And I was like, what the heck? Like, no, obviously that's like not the norm, I suppose, but that was such a fabulous case study to hear about. And just how she's doing how she's structuring everything. It was a really great, like, I loved sitting there and listening to them talk about the numbers and talk about insurance. It was a really, really good panel. But again, Katie Kim, if you are not following her, you absolutely should be, because I think you'd be blown away. So those are like my big
takeaways. To recap, I mean, it was a jam-packed day. I can't believe you did it, just with the flying in the morning and then flying back home one night. I mean,
actually, I lied. That is not the last thing. The last key takeaway that I pretty much around the way found, y'all need to work on your one-liners. And I think that's probably something that Fly and I will talk about in social. And no, it's not something I think we'll talk about. I know we'll talk about in Social Mastery VIP is how to craft a one-liner that actually sticks, that you can remember. I have a one-liner for my business. We do social media for busy commercial real estate professionals, right? Super easy to understand. Who is my target audience? Commercial real estate professionals. What are they? They're busy. What can't they do? Social media. We do all of that stuff, right? Super easy. Well, that's exactly.
Well, I'm just laughing because it's just like, let's go.
Well, that's what it is. And I did that. I got StoryBrand certified for that very fact, because I would go to conferences and people would ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, I do social media. And they're like, what does that mean? And then you start trying to explain away and you've lost them, right? So how are you going to get that information to them in a way that they can digest? It's easy to understand, and you're addressing their issues and concerns. Yeah. So if one thing to take away from a marketing perspective is that more people need to work on their one-liners, more people need to work on their pitch, their elevator pitch, to be able to get it out as quickly as possible. So in a way that people can understand. We have to talk about CREI Summit before we pop off. We're going a little long, so I apologize for that. CREI Summit is coming up September 10th through the 12th. It is going to be in Palm Desert, California. Fly and I will be there. We're going to have a shit ton of fun. Let's see. Programming committee, my programming committee, I'm staring at her. Oh, and we have, also Fly and I have a live on X today with Warren Tingen and Mindy Clark.
From
and we're talking about marketing mayhem. So that's going to be on X Live today.
And this is specifically from, so yeah, we're starting the day live and we're ending the day live, and there's a whole lot that's got to happen in between. But tonight on X, 6 p.m. Eastern, the space is from the perspective of people who are in CRE marketing specifically. And so what's lovely about CREI Summit is that, yes, it is geared towards people, specifically producers, brokers, and in the industry. However, there are so many more people who are not that particular role. They're,
industry adjacent.
What's that? Yeah, industry adjacent. Love that. But I have to tell you, if you are in a marketing role in commercial real estate, supporting brokers, supporting a brokerage, supporting any kind of industry adjacent company, and I know for a fact that you are stacked with things that you need to do, come to the space, come to the summit, connect with other people who are doing what you're doing and using a lot of these tools, not only to create content, but to support other people, to make all of our lives easier. And I really I wouldn't be where I am without it. So
we have a heavy focus this year on doing AI and making sure that people walk away with knowing how to create custom GPTs, how to use AI to make your life, and your business easier, as well as focusing on podcasting and then content creation. That's the big thing. We're going to have Megan Ashley, who is Ken Ashley's daughter. She's also one of the marketing reps for, I believe, Home Depot. We have Isabel Gonsalves, who is out of Phoenix, I believe. She's going to be part of our Creator Lab, as well as Chloe Cypers. So the Creator Lab is going to be a place where you're going to be able to go and take your laptop. You're going to be able to take your phone and go, okay, I don't know how to use TikTok. Show me how to use it. I don't know how to use CapCut. How do I start creating content with that? And they'll walk you through the process. I'll also be in the Creator Lab, probably doing something, who knows, It could be Canva. It could be, it could be CapCut. It could be showing you how to use edits. It just depends. So there's going to be 4 of us in there rotating. Bring your stuff. We'd love to help you out. Again, CREISummit.com is where you can find out more information. Thank you, sir. That was very kind of you. Oh, did you put that up there or did I? Where is it going? Show. There we go. Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
We need to work on our dual jockey.
Yes. One of us needs to claim it before.
You know what? Yeah. And once again, I'll harken back to my post yesterday. Move and start making, and you will figure out all the things you need to do. And then you do them, and then you iterate again. So, but you wouldn't realize all the stuff about how you're doing your content unless you're actually putting it out there.
Correct.
Basically. Okay.
You just gotta start. All right, everybody. We'll see you back here on Tuesday. Is today Thursday? Oh my gosh. I'm lost. Okay. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you.